Welcome. This is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to provide an opportunity to provide input with respect to a proposed minor variance at 370 Warren Street in the municipality of Central Elgin. Does any member of the committee have a disclosure of interest concerning the proposal? Seeing none. Ms. Leach, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting, please?
Mr. Chair, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 60 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on March 26, 2025. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff, and notice was also posted to the municipal website.
Is the applicant here and wishes to speak? Any written submissions, Ms. Leach?
Mr. Chair, correspondence was received from the Kettle Creek Conservation Authority confirming that KCCA staff reviewed the notice. Based on their mandate and policies, they have no objection to its approval. KCCA also indicated that the subject property is affected by regulations under the Conservation Authorities Act, thereby requiring a permit from KCCA prior to any development or alteration activities on the property.
Can I ask Ms. Redmond, is there an agent or is there anyone listening online that wants to present?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear which address we're speaking to, which application.
No problem. 370 Warren Street, please.
Okay, yes, I am here. Sorry. My name is Nicole McDowell. I am the agent acting on behalf of the client.
Thanks, Ms. McDowell. Proceed.
So the clients would like to put an addition on the, if you're looking at it from the road, on the left side of the property. It will house 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, and a walk-in closet for an existing primary bedroom. As well as the clients would like to reconstruct an existing porch that is currently, I don't know if it's legal non-conforming or if it's just not legal, but they would like to reconstruct that with a permit to make it legal.
Okay, thanks very much. Any questions from the public, either in the gallery or online, please? Yeah, it's 370 Warren Street, and the applicant is asking for a minor variance, so 370 Warren. Okay, no problem. Any other questions or comments from anyone online or in the gallery? Seeing none, everyone has been provided a fair opportunity to be heard. Can I ask the committee, all those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Those wanting to be notified of the committee's decision on any application should contact the municipality. This meeting is adjourned at 6:03. Thank you. Okay. This application is 437 West Edith Cavell Boulevard. So 437 West Edith Cavell Boulevard. This is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to provide an opportunity to provide input with respect to a proposed minor variance at 437 West Edith Cavell Boulevard. Does any member of the committee have a disclosure of interest concerning the proposal? Seeing none. Ms. Leach, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting, please?
Mr. Chair, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 60 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on March 26, 2025. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff, and notice was also posted to the municipal website.
The applicant or agent want to come forward and speak to this, or is there anyone online that wishes to speak to this, please?
I, Nicole McDowell, am acting as the agent on behalf of this minor variance application as well, so I can speak to it. So this is a current or an existing cottage that unfortunately was damaged due to a car accident. So the owners would like to rebuild the cottage. From our understanding, they're not able to completely tear down the whole cottage, but they can reconstruct the above grade walls on the existing foundation. And the minor variance that we're seeking is to extend the cottage 5 feet in length, and then also add a covered porch to the sorry, I'm just trying to find the site plan here. To the north side of the existing cottage. So currently on the south side, there is an existing covered porch, but it encroaches too close to the property lines. So the request is to, instead of rebuild over that existing front porch, that existing porch would be removed. And in lieu, they would build on to the north side instead to stay further away from the property line on the south side.
Thank you, Ms. McDowell. I understand and know the background on this. There was an unfortunate event where a motor vehicle ran into the house, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't think they necessarily wanted to be in front of our committee tonight. Is there any written submissions, Ms. Leach?
Mr. Chair, correspondence was received from Kettle Creek Conservation Authority confirming that staff reviewed the notice based on the mandate and priority and policies. They have no objection to its approval. KCCA also indicated that the subject property is affected by regulations under the Conservation Authorities Act, thereby requiring a permit from KCCA prior to any development or alteration upon the property.
Very good. Any questions or comments online with respect to the proposal, please? Any member of council have any further questions? Everyone has been provided a fair opportunity to be heard. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Those wanting to be notified of the committee's decision on any application should contact the municipality. This public meeting is adjourned at 6:07 p.m. Thank you. This is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to provide an opportunity to provide input with respect to a proposed minor variance at 45044 Dexter line in the municipality of Central Elgin. Does any member of the committee have a disclosure of interest concerning this proposal? Seeing none. If the applicant or agent is in attendance and wishes to speak, please come forward to the podium. Sir, come. Welcome. I'm going to ask you to just hit the button to make the microphone work. If you could introduce yourself, I'd appreciate it.
That better? Yeah, I'm just after on my shop. I inherited some equipment and stuff from my dad, and I have no place to store them. So I was going to build on to the east side of my shop right now to house. Well, there was 3 tractors. Now there's only 1 because I have no room. So 1 tractor and 1 pickup. And it's just going to be a storage, not heated, just going to be someplace I can, because the storage, custom storage is getting pretty expensive.
Understood. Thank you, sir. Ms. Leach, have you received any written submissions regarding the proposal?
Mr. Chair, correspondence was received from Kettle Creek Conservation Authority confirming that KCCA staff reviewed the notice and based on their mandate and policies, they have no objection to its approval. KCCA also confirmed that the subject property is not affected by natural hazard regulations under Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act.
Any other questions from the public? Any questions from anyone online, please? Any further question? Oh, Councillor Graham, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. McClure. Mr. McClure, what is the difference between a minor variance and a major variance if we're looking at a side yard extension is supposed to be or is only going to be 4 feet from the line, but the bylaw says 15 feet? Like, that seems like a major amount to me. So I just want to see if you can explain to me what the difference would be, or at what point does it cross over into a major variance? Mr. McClure.
Thank you.
You're good, sir.
Councillor Graham. So it's not necessarily a numerical value. It comes down to essentially what the impact or potential impact would be. In this instance, it's an agricultural area. So typically the side yard setbacks and the setbacks on agricultural and rural properties are quite a bit different than you'd find in an urban environment. So a residential residential setback in a zone is much narrower or smaller. So with respect to this, there's not just like a typical numerical value of after it exceeds a certain threshold. It comes down to impacts, looking on the context of the area and those types of things. So in this instance, it was deemed to be minor in nature.
Any other questions? Councillor Watson, please.
Through you, Mayor. And sorry to hold you up, Mr. McQuiggan, but this is to Kevin. Tonight, on all four of these committee of adjustments, we've had different zoning for each one. We've had industrial zone 1, open space 3, open space 1, and residential 1. So are the parameters all the same for the variations and setbacks with these 4? Are they all different depending on what they are? Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Watson. So the different zones correlate to the different types of uses that you would find in those zones generally. So there's general provisions with an industrial zone, and they would apply to those types of uses in a residential zone, an open space zone. And what you'll find is that as with this, specifically the Township of Yarmouth bylaw dates back to 1968, the Port Stanley bylaw dates back to 1968. Certain things have occurred over time, so it's not necessarily up to what it is or the standards of today. So depending on the situation, a minor variance may be looked at favorably or granted. In these instances, they're all dealt with through minor variance, just because it's either a non-conforming use, so it doesn't necessarily make sense to change the zone generally, because with that, it comes more inherent flexibility. With the minor variances, they are really specific to a particular application, and it narrows it down the scope to you're only essentially approving it based on what has been applied for. Once you put it into a zoning or a bylaw, by law, they're allowed to have some flexibility as long as they meet within those confines. So these are looked at very narrowly for what's being asked for. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Council? Everyone has been provided a fair opportunity to be heard. All those in favor? Opposed? And that's carried. Those wanting to be notified of the committee's decision on any application should contact the municipality. This public meeting is adjourned at 6:12. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. McGuigan. (203) Willow. This is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to provide an opportunity to provide input with respect to a proposed minor variance at 203 Willow Street, the municipality of Central Elgin. Does any member of the committee have a disclosure of interest concerning the proposal? Seeing none. Ms. Leach, what method of notice and when was the notice given to the public for this meeting, please?
Mr. Chair, as per requirements of the Planning Act, notice was mailed by regular post to every owner of land within 60 meters of the subject land and applicable agencies on March 26, 2025. Notice was physically posted to the property by municipal staff, and notice was also posted to the municipal website.
Thank you. If the applicant or their agent is in attendance and wishes to speak, please come forward.
Mr. Mayor, councilors and others, we're just here to apply for a minor variance as pertains to the amount of coverage on the lot, I guess is what we're here for. So that's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments online?
I'd like to speak if I could, please.
If you could state your name, please.
George Valentine.
Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mayor Sloan, Deputy Mayor Noble, members of the council, and fellow residents. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is George Valentine, and I'm the owner of 199 Willow Street, property directly adjacent to 203 Willow Street. First and foremost, I want to be clear that we are neighbors and we wish no ill will towards the applicants, Carol Arbor and Mark Brown. We understand that everyone wants to improve their home and make the most of their property. However, we feel strongly that this particular application goes too far, and we're opposing it for the following reasons. The variance seeks to increase the allowable height for an accessory building from 4 meters to 5.94 meters, a nearly 50% increase. that is a substantial change that cannot reasonably be considered minor. It has created a structure that looms over surrounding properties and significantly affects the visual landscape of the neighborhood. The proposed additional residential unit will sit above the existing garage with windows facing our backyard. This severely impacts our privacy and enjoyment of the outdoor space. In addition, there's a large shipping container with a deck that was previously installed on the property. This structure, which directly overlooks our backyard, was supposed to be removed on February 10th. Instead, it's being now reclassified in this application as a storage shed, and it feels like a case of retroactive approval for something that was built without proper consultation or consideration of its impact on neighbors. We'd also like to raise a critical safety concern. In 2020, the original garage at 203 Willow, which was fairly new at the time, caught fire and burned to the ground. Given the history of the event, we feel it's entirely appropriate to ask what has been done to ensure that the new structure, especially one containing a second dwelling unit, meet all fire code and safety standards. The application also seeks to increase the allowable accessory structure coverage from 8% to 18%. When combined with the height variance, this begins to look less like a minor variance and more like a major overbuild on a residential lot. There seems to be a trend of proceeding with construction and then requesting variances after the fact. This undermines the zoning process and sets a concerning precedent for other homeowners. Zoning regulations exist to ensure fairness, predictability, and respect for the community, especially for adjacent neighbors. Port Stanley is a close-knit community, with a unique and cherished residential character, approving large, overheight, high-coverage backyard dwellings risks transforming the low-density charm of the neighborhood into something more congested and out of step with the original zoning intent. In closing, Mayor Sloan and members of council, I want to reiterate that our intent is not personal. We are simply trying to protect privacy, character, and livability of the neighborhood. This application, as proposed, does not meet the definition of minor, nor is it appropriate or respectful to the immediate context of the surrounding homes. For this reason, I respectfully ask you to deny this minor variance COA 05-25. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Valentine. Do I have anyone else online that wishes to make a comment? Any other further questions from the public before I go to the council? Please, do you wish to speak?
Hi, I'm Liz Gilroy and I live just around the corner from the proposed.
Welcome.
Thank you. We were just concerned about the height variance, it being so tall. In the neighborhood, I find that when these kind of variances get passed, it can be a slippery slope. And all of a sudden, all sorts of people are applying for the same thing. And the neighborhood, as Mr. Valentine said, does change its character. We were also wondering I don't even know if I can ask this question, what the use is of said dwelling. Will it be a rental unit? Will it be a short-term rental unit? Will it be an Airbnb? Also worried about that in our area as well.
I'm not sure that that's something I can, I appreciate it, Ms. Gilroy. I'm learning some of this stuff too, but I appreciate your concern. Sir, did you want to speak as well, or are you?
Absolutely. We live together in the neighborhood. My name is Scott Mosley. I appreciate too what the former speaker, Mr. Valentine, said. It's a very kind of open concept neighborhood where we are down there. If you increase the coverage by that percentage, it definitely does alter the character of the neighborhood. We looked at the structure as best as we could going by. It was difficult for us to look at the details of the variance, which was on the rear side of the display. We'd have had to go right onto the neighbor's property to take a look at that. So I'm sorry that we weren't really prepped for all of the details, but it does sound like going that much higher on what is already a higher structure and increasing the coverage, I guess, which would be out the backside of that garage, would definitely create a very major difference with the structure. So that would definitely be a concern. And as my wife said, without knowing really what the purpose is, if this were to become a sort of a rental unit as well, I think that would be a concern for not just us, but many of the other neighbors. But unfortunately, we can't really know what that is. So we just wanted to express our concern, and I think it would be fair to say that we would be opposed to this variance going through. Do I speak for you? Yes. But again, it's absolutely nothing personal. It's just a concern, and thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from council? Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is to Kevin again. Kevin, the talk was the coverage area, we're allowed 8%, and we're looking at going 18%. But then on the third page of this report, it was talking about, it was only going to actually increase it by 1.6%. So what's the math there? I don't get it. Can you explain?
Mr. McClure, please.
Thank you. And that was a question for myself as well. It goes back to the January approval of the minor variance that was granted for the accessory coverage for the decks and that were approved back then. At that time, it was granted for 16.4% coverage. So this would be the additional, the 1.6% is the additional coverage based on the shed that's being, or the essentially the shipping container that's been converted to a shed. So that's what the 1.6 number is. It's the addition to what was already approved previously.
Thank you. Council, any other questions? Councillor Graham, please.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Mr. McClure, if you can just remind me, it's, I've had a few other things that I've been working on after I read this. So there was an existing illegal dwelling or just a C-can or some type of shed. And now we're talking about that and the garage. Is that correct? And what's the current height of the garage? What's the current coverage of the garage, if that's what we're looking at the variance for, please?
Mr. McClure.
So essentially what was approved previously was the reconstruction of the deck around the dwelling. The garage in that is already constructed. Essentially the request for the variance is to allow for an additional residential unit above the garage. So it's essentially converting an existing space into a livable area. There's general provisions right now for additional residential units that only allow for additional residential units in a detached structure up to a height of 4 meters. So because the accessory building itself in the Port Stanley bylaw can be up to 18 feet, which is about 5.5 meters, it doesn't align. So as soon as they want to put in or requested to put in an additional residential unit, it doesn't align with the general provision. So essentially, it's not increasing the height of the building that already exists. It's just converting it over for the residential purposes. And then the increase in coverage is dealing with the shipping container that is on the property that has now been converted over into essentially to a shed. There were general policies on shipping containers and their temporary use, but essentially once you convert it and it's on a proper foundation and that it's considered a building or structure under the building code. So it would be considered a building or structure for the purposes of the bylaw. So they're reconciling the fact that that was not originally addressed because it was, I guess, an oversight on their part at the time of the original application.
Councillor.
So just to follow up, so sorry again. So that garage is actually at that height currently, is at the height. We're just talking about converting that height to an ARU.
Yeah, and the applicant is here if you want some specific details on.
You want to speak to it, sir? And just remember to hit the microphone, please.
The garage was built back in 2019. We had a fire at went down, we rebuilt it again. So it was all permitted through Central Elgin. Height wise, it had to be 2 feet shorter than what our highest point in our house is. That was the code at the time, so it is that at that point. So it's already an existing building. Clear a couple of things up is when we applied originally for our deck around our house and found out that we were in violation of setback stuff and we had to get a variance, I said, I'm going to go look into, since I can't do that now, I'm going to go look into the CCAN thing. So I did come up to Central Elgin and I did talk to 2 people, and I don't want to say who I talked to because I don't want to throw anybody under the bus here. They're good people. They got a job to do, but they did tell me that there was no policy on CCANs. And now I don't have anything to prove that. I don't have an email trail. I've got none of that stuff that we all need nowadays, but that is what happened. So I went home and I got a CCAN, and I went ahead and I built a shed and I built a deck on top of it. Now it's all been gone over by a engineer. It's over constructed. A CCAN, you can put 56,000 pounds on top of this thing and it won't collapse. You can't put that on your house. It is a structure. It's recognized by the Ontario Building Code. So we kind of fought to save the CCAN. And when we went up, we talked to Steve Craig up in St. Thomas, and he said, well, you've got an existing structure up above your garage, which we do. When my daughter or Carol's daughters come home, or my brother from out west, they need a place to stay. So we just have a bedroom up there. And it's not, there's no plumbing, there's no water, there's no whatever up there. But anyway, to make a long story short, that's where they stay. So he thought, well, if we're going to try to go to the trouble of getting everything else legally done, let's do this as a unit too. So I hear comments about, it kind of makes me a little bit angry because it's like I'm trying to do it behind everybody's back, and I wasn't. I didn't try to put a CCAN and turn it in and try to do anything that way. But that is what happened. So any more questions?
Counselor?
So sorry, just specifically, my question was, the garage, you're not increasing the height of the garage, or you are increasing the height of the garage?
No, the garage stays the same height that it is. There was always a set of glass doors on the back of the garage. That's timed out. You've said enough. You said that, where was I? It's always been at that height. We're not changing the height of anything. It is of legal height. It's far enough away from the setback from the neighbors. I don't know what else I can say. It's a legal existing building. And we put a deck out back of it. And so we're just trying to get it all legal so it's done.
Counselor Graham?
Sorry, just to follow up. So Kevin, we're doing this after the fact.
Mr. McClure?
Yeah, so there is an existing 2-story detached accessory structure garage right now. What they're requesting is a variance to allow for essentially the general provisions of the additional residential units only allow a height of 4 meters. The building itself that exists today is over that height. So in order to convert it, in order to get building code, so to get building permits to make sure that it was up to fire code and everything else it's up to up and up, they need to have a variance so that the municipality can go through the proper process to have it permitted appropriately for its use, which is going to be an additional residential unit. So it's converting what exists there today into living space. So that's essentially what the height request is. The coverage request is to deal with the landowners indicating that there's a shipping container that's on the property currently that is with its coverage currently would put it over the maximum. So they're asking for that 1.6% increase. So the 1%, 1.6% increase deals with the shipping container and the deck component of it. The height increase is to deal with converting of an existing building, an existing structure, and to allow for living space above the garage.
So excuse me, Mayor, the existing structure is legal, but not as a additional unit.
That's correct.
Someone else in the gallery wants to speak. Ma'am,
So I just want to make sure.
please, you're going to have you come forward if you don't mind. We're going to switch here. Thank you.
I don't want to appear dim, but just so I get it right. So the height does not change. The height staying the height?
On the shipping container, the building is separate than the shipping container.
So the garage, not the shipping container, is not going to increase by 2 meters. It's already been done, and that is the height. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Please.
So I'm just asking for further clarification.
Understood.
So the building is legal as it is at that height because of its current use, which is not residential. Yes? So what is being asked for is to make it residential.
Yes.
And if it's made to be residential, it then exceeds the limits for the residential height. And that's what the variance is for. To make it residential, even though as a residential structure, it would be in excess of what residential structures are allowed to be by the bylaw. No?
Mr. McClure.
So this is where when you're dealing with a bylaw that dates back to the 60s, it creates confusion. So ultimately, if the detached garage was attached to the house, there wouldn't be any issue. By nature of the fact that it's detached, it's considered an accessory structure, which puts it into a different category.
Because it was built separately, correct?
Because it was built separately, and the height is to deal with where these things may be, say, in a back corner of somebody's yard. And it's intended to be at a lower height to create less impacts. Given the fact that they're going through the process, and similar to some of the comments that were, or questions that were raised earlier, ultimately, when looking at this, we look at the nature of the potential impact. And given the fact of where it is, and if this was attached to the building, the height and setbacks and everything else would not be an issue or not be a concern. It would fall within the regulations of the residential zone. But because it's separate, now it falls into looking at under a different lens. And that's where we have to weigh what the impacts are through the variance process. And in this instance, it was looked at as it's not a concern to staff.
Okay, so I think I understand. So because it's detached, it falls under different rules.
Yes.
And that's why you need the variance, because it's a detached structure and they want to make it a detached residential structure, and therefore it exceeds
The general
the
provisions.
general provision. But I guess basically what I'm asking is, at this point, it's not, they're not asking to extend it any higher. And the structure at the back, they're asking to extend an additional 1.6%.
The coverage, so there's only so much area on the ground that could be covered
Yes.
with decks in it. So essentially what the area that the current shipping container shed takes up would increase that coverage by 1.6%. So all it's doing is it's recognizing that that's the increase, and it's increasing it to that 18%, where currently it's permitted to have 16.4% coverage.
So again, they're not talking about extending what is right there now.
No, it's essentially recognizing what is there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council? Last one, sir.
Yeah, just one more thing to say. I don't intend on renting this out. I don't normally like people. I don't want to have them living that close to me. That's the truth of it. And also, I have never walked across or trespassed over where I live to go to the beach one time on somebody's property. I think that that's wrong too. But everybody does it, and all the people who have Airbnbs encourage everybody to do that. I don't do that. I've been in Port Stanley a long time. I guess other than that, I don't intend on renting it. But you know what? When I do die, and I hope they carry me out up there in a pine box, because I'm going to be there to tick the neighbors off, I guess, as long as I can. And I'm not leaving. And so when that place does sell, it might as well have all the i's dotted and all the t's crossed. So if it can be a second residential unit, then let's do it that way. Now's the time to do it. If I'm going through this, I might as well do it all now. So that's why I'm here.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Any other questions, folks? Okay, so minor variance, 203 Willow Street. Are we ready to make a decision? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion fails. Thank you. Counselor, do you want to come in? Welcome. So those wanting to be notified of the committee's decision on any application should contact the municipality. This public meeting is adjourned at 6:36 p.m. Thank you.